My name is Ricky Hill, and I'm an e-recruiter and engagement specialist here at UC Merced. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. Allow me to give you a couple of quick tips before we get started. If you'd like to adjust your audio settings, you can do that in the lower left corner of your screen by clicking on the audio settings button and making those adjustments as needed. If you would like to either increase the size or reduce the size of your window, you can do that by clicking View Options at the upper portion of your screen. And most importantly, we would love to hear from you today. There's a Q&A button that you will find at the lower portion of your screen. If you select the Q&A button, you can submit your questions to us throughout the presentation, and we will have a live Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This recording will be available as a replay online. So if you would like to go back and look at this again, or if you have colleagues who haven't been able to attend, they will be able to view that at their leisure later on. Once again, my name is Ricky Hill, and we're here today for the Virtual Educator Tour Series, focusing on careers in graduate school here at UC Merced. At this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Brian.
Thank you, Ricky. And hello, everyone. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to share something with you all about UC Merced that we are just so proud to be a part of, which is helping prepare our students for the future. Meeting where they are and really helping prepare them for what comes next. We know that our time with them sometimes can feel very limited. And so we're happy to kind of share that. And as Ricky said, I'm happy to answer any questions as we move through the webinar today that you may have. And I also invite you to connect. I think one of the best parts is we dialogue and talk about career readiness and career preparation and academic success. It's so important to have dialogues like these that bring together educators from a wide range of audiences, community colleges, K through 12, higher education, and industry. And so I'd love to hear what you are doing, and we would love to hear what you're doing in your respective campuses and schools that's innovative in the ways that you're preparing students to be successful. And so, as always, we'd love to hear from you as well. Just a little bit of background, kind of my journey to UC Merced. I'm a East Coaster and really cut my teeth in higher education at a two-year institution called Pierce College in Center City, Philadelphia, serving predominantly urban students, both associate's degrees and moving on then into pursuing advanced degrees during the workforce. About 2,500 students enrolled at that institution. Then I went to one of the largest institutions in the country, serving over close to 60,000 students at Ohio State University, working again in career services, operations, student services support. Also then my migration west had me a stop in Colorado, working for Colorado State University, leading and facilitating their career services operations and industry partnerships. And then almost 10, 11 years ago, I had the opportunity to join the team here in the campus at UC Merced, and have just enjoyed every moment since then, and really call Merced and UC Merced home, and really helped to create a community for our students as well. And so that's just a little bit about my background in terms of the present. But I think we also take a look at, with a keen eye towards the future. This is a graphic that is somewhat, we might say, already a little bit out of date in terms of our future work skills coming into the last year in 2020. And certainly as I look at these skills, and I've looked at these for years in anticipation of 2020, but there's one that just screams to me on this screen. And that's the one in the, at least on my screen, the top right-hand corner, saying virtual collaboration. Who would have thought even a year ago that we would have gotten so skilled at virtual collaboration that we're even engaging in this way today in that particular piece, and what a skill set this has been added to many of us in our interactions with things. But there's so many other really important key skills that we know that we're preparing our students for. And so while we are this is part of our present, we also keep a keen eye towards the future. And where that's reading about the literature, the empirical research that's out there that's kind of prognosticating the future. There's articles like this one that talk about the 70 jobs for 2030 that's based on research. People are coming together and having these dialogues in different settings, whether it's a conference setting. And now we're talking about the world in 2050. but then also looking at what are going to be some of those jobs of the future. And I found this one particularly interesting, to seeing some of the new jobs that I don't think I've ever heard of or would anticipate hearing of, that may become very much part of our world in 2050, in looking at some of these things like a digital rehabilitation counselor. That one really spoke to me as both a humanist and a person who loves technology. But also what I'm looking forward to is that companion for the aged. Certainly by 2050, I'm going to need all the help I can get, probably by 2030. Around that, but I'm encouraged to see that these are the careers that are at least one place is projecting we're going to start to kind of see, and we need to think about these things as we're preparing students for this world that they're going to be going into. And at Merced, we're also right along with the future. Many of us may have been following some current events over the last year, and particularly in the last week, with regards to the Mars mission that's been taking place. And UC Merced has played a role in this particular endeavor. We're very proud of the fact that we've had both graduate students and an alumnus who's been working with JPL, as well as our graduate student that's working for in the lab of Dr. Ashley Martini. And they are working with tribology. And I don't know if we have any tribologists, if that's even the right way of saying it on the line, but what I've learned about tribology is that it pertains to lubrication and lubricants. And certainly as you see the particular robot or the piece that we're looking at on the screen here, something's got to keep those gears lubricated and moving. And that's kind of the way that some of the research that's being done here at UC Merced, that our alum and our graduate students and undergrads are having the opportunity to contribute to something as large as the Mars mission that's happening there. So we're kind of like we're own part of our future in terms of how we're preparing our students as well for these experiences. So as we talk about preparing students, I want to maybe share a little bit of how we approach this work. And really there are three kind of key milestones or kind of key experiences that we're looking for. First and foremost is that idea of that career awareness, and raising the idea of career, or introducing the concept of career, maybe in new ways or different ways for students, getting them to make the connection between what they're studying and what their career options might be, or exposing them to areas they've never considered before, haven't thought about going into, whether it's something related to the health field that might be new and innovative, or maybe they never thought about going and working for a nonprofit organization or an institution of higher education. And so we do this around the idea of both identifying that sense of belonging early on in their experiences at Merced, building that sense of community, and also helping them to develop their identity. That intersectionality between identity and career development is so important. And so how do we also help facilitate that identity development for our students, along with how then can they kind of bring them their best selves to work or into their career, or they're continuing their education. And then that middle part is really spent a lot of our efforts, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of these examples with you all today, is the applied experiences. And really, how are we focusing on increasing the equity and access to those particular opportunities for students? We know that by getting students involved in whether it's research on campus, an internship, volunteering in the community, does have a strong correlation with student retention and student success, keeping them on track to graduate. And so there is a component there that also I think is part of what we want to see as students attend UC Merced and have amazing experiences and then graduate. We also have the idea of how we support the curricular experiences. Spark courses, for example, are something our first year students are taking, which is a opportunity for our faculty to kind of share a passion of theirs, to kind of really spark the interest in being part of a research university and a research enterprise. And so we've had all kinds of interesting courses talking about becoming a donor of an organ donor, and what's the ethical component to that, to the physics of chocolate is a course that I was particularly interested in and seeing if I could sit in on. Are looking at the future of AI and the integration of AI. And so these are oftentimes things that are topical areas that are meant to introduce students to the research component, but also spark their interest in something that might fuel them in their career, their development. all the way through to their capstone experiences. And so these culminating experiences that students are doing in their programs, whether that's a research, a large research project, or if it's getting involved in a hands-on project and maybe in an engineering way, working on projects or things for an industry partner that they then have the opportunity to present on. But we also look outside the campus for these experiences. So where are the opportunity for students to intern or volunteer, develop their leadership skills, are also pieces that, both in formal and informal ways, how are we engaging students in the outer world to acquire these skills and experiences? And we hope that through these things, that awareness, through these measured experiences, we hope that leads them to a point where they're ready and a career readiness to make that transition to continue their education or go into the workforce. And with that, we want our students to leave with a real sense of career confidence or career efficacy, having a real sense of who they are and how they're going to be able to be prepared for their future and have a confidence in themselves and having that real sense of self. To do that's important. We also want them to continue to spark that learning that started way back in their first year. And how do we have help them develop, become lifelong learners? And that curiosity is such a huge and important part. But also develop those connections with industry or with our alumni that can kind of help facilitate some of their entry into jobs and careers or their industries. And also the opportunity to increase their social mobility is also something that we're looking at and measuring, and as a campus have received accolades with regards to the impact that UC Merced is having on the social mobility of our students. And so while this looks like a continuum, we know that these things can kind of happen, and or students are coming to us already with experiences. Many of our students have already volunteered or may have done internship experiences prior to arriving, and we want to build on those experiences in the time that we have them here. To do that, we have a lot of resources around them. One of the questions I think our students face all the time is, what's your major? Well, what are you going to do with that degree? And having us be able to answer that question is certainly something that we're focused on in developing. And this is a team here that's dedicated to having those one-on-one conversations or that individual coaching with students. And we kind of break them down by areas of both industry, but also of our areas of enrollment, our schools. And the purpose of that is that these folks are both aware of the curricular components that students are going through, but they also have a keen eye towards what's happening in the outer world and interacting with industry or graduate programs and making those matches and those connections between students and those experiences. And that's such a great component. So our staff is here to work with students through whatever level of wherever they are to do that. Our data does support that students move, and we're between about 15% closer to their goal by just making an appointment to talk with someone. This is oftentimes they're thinking about what they're going to talk about, and that gives us a great point of entry for those conversations to have with students as we start to kind of think about those. But there's that human interaction and that human connection, which we think is so super important for students to be comfortable to kind of know that there are these coaches and mentors that are kind of here to help them through this journey. And we have a variety of ways for students to collect data about themselves, both qualitatively, quantitatively. We offer any number of career assessment tools for students to look at their interests, their personalities, their skills. The one I've highlighted here is one that we work with that's available to any student, but oftentimes works well for some of our management or economics students. And this resource was originated through Harvard's Business School. And they realized that even folks that were getting their MBAs didn't always know what they wanted to do. And so they've created a version for both undergraduates that are interested in going into the business world, whether that's entrepreneurship or accountancy or finance. And it gives a very specific assessment for those students who are saying, hey, I want to be in business, but I just don't know where I want to be. And so it provides a context for them to do that. But we have more broad-based assessments that students can take, and without any cost to the students, they can take any number of these assessments to really get some real-time data that can factor into some of their decisions. Quite honestly, sometimes an assessment is just a blessing or permission, where they're kind of a conviction about something that they want to do, but they just kind of need that extra push and that little bit of data that says, yeah, you're headed in the right direction. Might give them that empowerment to be able to continue to do that. And so we value those types of tools and resources. But then we try to have some fun with the ways to introduce resources and services. And so just this past fall semester, one of our student interns actually created a virtual escape room that introduces students to the full range of career services. And they've come up with a hypothetical student, Jesse, who's a first-year student coming into UC Merced, and you have to unlock these rooms through a virtual engagement to move Jesse through all the way to graduation and getting to shake the chancellor's hand as they walk across that stage in doing that. So, and so again, it's a fun way of kind of meeting students where they are. We're able to use this for different classes, where classes can assign this, or student clubs and organizations can do this both individually or as a group, as a way of kind of engaging students in some ways that gamify a little bit the career development process. Also within our first year and transfer students, we've created a program called a student den. And you'll see kind of the nod to the word den in the graphic here. And these are dens that are currently broken out by area of that students enroll in their major. So there's a den for the School of Engineering, a den for our School of Social Sciences and Natural Sciences. And this is a community where all first year and transfer students can come together. Right now, we're able to create this all virtually, where through setting up some Teams channels and ways to communicate, students are able to engage in social activities with game nights to meet other students in their dens. We're able to provide academic information to them. They're able to meet with their, be introduced to their advisors or to the resources on campus. But we also maintain a career component. The folks I had shared with you on a previous screen are all assigned to these dens. And they're there to facilitate conversations with students, whether it's through office hours, through events, through chat, and talk with them about career options or introduce them to their career options very early on. And so a very innovative way to build a sense of community, a sense of belonging, but also to introduce some of those early skill sets around career awareness and career building. To be able to do those things. I happen to serve as a den leader with another faculty member from our School of Engineering. We both serve as the den leaders, and then we have several student den guides who are also there to interact with the students and promote different opportunities. We had a Mars landing watch party where we could all watch and comment and talk about it. We also came together and had a watch party for our athletic games that were taking place over the weekend. Virtually, we could watch those. And so it's about building community, but also raising their awareness early on, introducing them to the ideas of undergraduate research or that of career was very intentionally designed into these dens for our first year students and our new transfer students. But we also listen to our alumni. And we bring them back to share a lot of information with our current students, particularly those alumni who are just a few years out. They really resonate, that near peer relationship. And I thought Jamie did a great job here of really emphasizing the need for internships, one, if not two, of those types of experiences, and really has seen those pay off in her career, preparing her for her career as a civil engineer. And the value that she found from those experiences is something that we also like to connect our students to our alumni to kind of share those things and those experiences directly with them. And we know that through the internships that students can really be reaffirmed about their interests. It's not unusual to have a student come back from an internship and say, this is not what I want to do. Wow, I'm so glad I did this. It's not what I want. And that's incredible learning. For them to say, okay, now let's go figure out what you do want to do. And so our students are doing internships with everything from Fortune 1, Fortune 500 companies to mature venture-backed startups, small businesses, government agencies, nonprofit organizations. This photo was taken not last year, but the year before with our interns at Twitter. At the Twitter HQ, we went and visited with them and had a chance to spend some time learning from their experiences in that particular piece. But we all know that internships can come from a variety of places. So this is just a few of the organizations that have had UC Merced Bobcats intern with their opportunities in a variety of ways. Another thing that we've really introduced here in the last year, 2 years is the concept of micro internships. And We've partnered with an organization to where our students can actually apply for and compete for micro internships. These are very short term, maybe 5 hours up to maybe 40 hours of work that a student would do. They're paid based on their completion of the project. And for the most part, they've been virtual. And these are with everything from companies and organizations, from nonprofits to for-profit organizations all throughout the country. And it could be something as simple. I had a student was sharing with me that they helped create a newsletter for a company and a template for a newsletter. And it was about a 10-hour job that they did to be able to utilize that skill and those experiences. We've had folks that go in and clean up data, do some data setup for organizations that may have required, again, a 20-hour project that a student can kind of fit in around their academics. They don't have to travel to do these things. They can do them right from the comfort of their living room. And so these have been really excellent as a way for students to gain some experience and very easily just try some areas out. And then we've replicated something very similar here in Merced, and working predominantly with our nonprofit organizations and our communities and small businesses that have been really hit hard by the pandemic. And students have been able to do virtual projects with them, and that includes everything from our county library. We had a student who curated an entire series of Black authors and African-American authors. We're able to put together a whole collection and be able to distribute that out to the area schools. But they curated that experience all virtually by going in and just finding all the books and all of the resources and putting them all together for both to be a searchable database, but also in terms of their social media to do that. And again, a student's getting great experience doing those things, and it's helping out an organization here in our community. And so we've had close to 45 students who have participated in these projects that have a direct impact here in Merced. And I know our organizations and our nonprofits have been hit very hard, and I've appreciated that opportunity to kind of have a student work on something that they just don't have the time to have that opportunity to be able to do. So these short-term experiences are also a great thing for students to can accumulate 4 and 5 of these things and really develop some keen skills, get some letters of recommendation, and just get better kind of career clarity about how their skills kind of develop and build up. And obviously, we've seen a shift to virtual internships all across the country. Our students were certainly impacted by that transition, a little over a year ago. And here's one of our students that was highlighted on the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Sandra's one of our students who is from the Turtle Rock area, just north of us here in Merced. And they did a nice job of kind of showcasing what she's been doing as part of her virtual internship for the GAO office, and experiences. Obviously not the experience that she may have wanted to have by being able to go to DC, but nonetheless is getting those experiences and still able to have this as an experience that can kind of shape her future as well. And there's other kinds of experiential programs that students can do. One here is our wonderful relationship that we have with Yosemite National Park. And through our Yosemite Leadership Program, students are both being introduced to the idea of leadership, environmental stewardship, but they also then have the opportunity to do internships in the park. And so those internships could be everything from educational based, where they could be working in the educational outreach center, maybe doing projects with guests when they come who have young children. They could be doing different activities to working on research projects that are happening within the park, to mountain rescue. We have students who have been part of search and rescue and have been actually in the helicopter going out to find folks and rescue folks from those types of things, to students applying their engineering skills. I have one student who developed a way to retrieve excess propane gas that comes from bottles that people might bring into the park and maybe only intend to use once, and either they throw them away or they sit in a garage back at home. And so instead of throwing them away, they could deposit them on their way out of the park. And then a student developed a mechanism to be able to extract that propane, put it into a larger propane tank, and then refill tanks, where now you can rent a tank which really decreases the impact on the environment as well. And so kind of really a lot of neat ways that students can kind of get involved in things, even if there are all these kind of field experiences like going out into one of our national parks. Undergraduate research is also something that we're very proud that our undergraduate students have the opportunity to participate in, whether they're working directly with a faculty member or PhD students or postdoc students. And our UROC office, Undergraduate Research Opportunities Center, provides those pathways for students who are interested in going into those things. And you're seeing on this graphic just the benefit that goes beyond just learning about research and applying it, but the professional development, the opportunity to utilize this for their graduate school applications or internship opportunities is really great in doing those things. And so we really encourage students, even in their first year, to talk with faculty, find out about those opportunities, that they may have the opportunity of working in a lab or working for one of our faculty in the types of things that we're doing. Here's just one example. This was just highlighted about a week ago of Jacqueline from Atwater, which is just it's a city just north of us. In her work with as a fourth year chemistry major, and working with the project that she's currently working on. A lot of great science terms in there that I don't always know about, that thankfully we have amazing students that do, and faculty. But really have the opportunity of really to kind of hone her skills and approach problem solving with an open mind. And what a great skill to take into any workplace. To already be able to recognize that in Jacqueline, for her, she has a self-awareness to recognize that is just so impressive to me. And we're super excited to see that this experience is leading her to a summer internship with Merck and the pharmaceutical company, that she'll have the opportunity of applying her chemistry degree there, but really building upon what she's been doing in the lab to become competitive for that type of opportunity. And so there's a lot of Jacquelines on our campus, and we're hoping we have a lot more to connect with these types of opportunities for students to really learn about themselves, but also to learn about the direct application of what they're studying, and in this case, chemistry. And then there's opportunities for campus employment. It's the research supports, and I've included it here, the connection between students who hold a on-campus job and a higher success rate, a deeper connection. And we are very fortunate, and we quite honestly couldn't run our institution without the value of our student employees that they contribute to all of our operations. There's just a few here. Our Bobcat pantry is our on-campus pantry to distribute food to students that they keep completely stacked. They do all types of educational programming for students of how to stretch your food. But this is an opportunity where students can come in and receive food that they can then take to their off-campus locations. And they include different menus, they include different ways of cooking foods, all different types of culturally infused foods that they do. But what a great way to have a job on campus to do this type of work in this way. And I also just saw this the other night of some of our student employees that are working both for the DENS, but also working at our COVID testing center that we've set up on campus. And talk about a very timely need everywhere, but of students actually getting experiences to work and help facilitate employees and things around our COVID response. And so something we never thought would have been a student job a year ago. And here we are today with students gaining these experiences and doing that. And so highly encourage first year students, transfer students to apply for positions on campus, even before they would look for something off campus if avoidable. On campus, we know that they're students. We know when midterms are, we know when finals are, we understand the biorhythms of a semester. And so it has a little bit of, and we limit the hours that they can work to only 18 hours a week because they are students first. But oftentimes they're getting these great experiences in doing things for us, and skills that they're able to apply into internships or full-time jobs, or even into graduate opportunities as well. We also, as we talk about this applied experience, there's opportunities for students to get trainings and certifications, whether those are specific to majors, certain licensures or experiences, to simply getting onto LinkedIn Learning. I mentioned student employment a moment ago. We've actually curated a deal with LinkedIn where all of our student employees, and that could be upwards of anywhere of 13, 1,400 student employees at any given time, probably more, actually have free access to LinkedIn Learning while they're employed as a student employee. And a lot of our staff supervisors and our student supervisors have integrated LinkedIn Learning and asking their student employees to complete different training modules on there. But it's something that they don't need they don't have to pay for. There's not a requirement for them to have a premium account or anything. But it was an important part for us to value our student employees, but also provide them with an opportunity to get some additional skills. But we also work with outside partnerships, and launched one here with CodePath, and a nonprofit that partners with universities and major tech companies. And they've been offering both technical and non-technical trainings and certifications for students. They average about 30 students that are participating in these multi-week trainings. And even the cool part is CodePath loves to train, and they've actually trained 4 and 5 of our current students to actually be the facilitators of these sessions. And so it's Bobcats kind of teaching Bobcats these skills in a really unique way, and being able to do that. And so these types of partnerships are also very important for us to look into, to give students those types of formalized experiences and growth. We mentioned leadership development. It's a big part we know that organizations are always looking for. So oftentimes it's one of the top sought skills. And we look at it through, again, that intersectionality of identity. This is one example of our Women's Leader Development Program, where women have the opportunity to come together. We bring in outside speakers, have the opportunity of really finding their voice. Because we really feel a leadership at UC Merced is everyone has on their own journey. It's not positional leadership, but you really lead from every chair. And so bringing an opportunity of bringing together UC Merced students to participate in a leadership training in this kind of a way, without really focusing on that identity of identifying as a woman. We have a similar program we launched for our African-American and Black students. We have a similar program we work with our undocumented students in terms of the Bobcat Leader Series, specifically for undocumented students. And that intersectionality of leadership, career, and identity is such an important component. And we infuse that into many of our programs right up front as part of what we are working with them on. To students volunteering in the community, upwards of 70% of our students under normal circumstances are engaging in our community during their time here, whether that's through a one-time service project, if that's through a program like an AmeriCorps fellowship program where students are 400, 500 hours of literacy coaching with our area schools. We just launched an online Bobcat tutoring program in collaboration with CalTeach, where our students are able to tutor both Merced City, Merced County, and it's quite honestly, it's open to the world around tutoring. Particularly focus on K through 3. A lot of the data coming back in terms of the impact on K through 3 education around literacy and math are things that are really, really important. And so we just launched that program where students have that experience of being able to do that. 2, we have engineering students that go to the Castle Air Museum, which is an amazing historical museum of aircraft. And students are actually going out there and they are welding things and refurbishing, and they're learning about aeronautics from the ground up. They're turning wrenches and they're helping the museum members, and most are retired Air Force members, to rebuild and refurbish these aircraft in a way. And that's been such a powerful thing to watch. The intergenerational connection between the students and the folks in the museum has also been a lot of fun. And then the students present at the end their project and what they accomplished and what they learned. And then for the most cases, where they're heading next. And for many of our students, that's a career in aerospace, whether it's Boeing, Lockheed, Collins, Aeronautics. Our students are being competitive for that, and they're citing that experience as something that really fueled their interest and also gave them a unique skill of actually having hands-on experiences working on aircraft right here in our community. So that community impact is such an important part. And as our alumni, we want them to continue to be leaders in their communities, to continue to be active in their communities well after they leave UC Merced. We think that's something that's really important to build on those experiences they've already had when they come in and meet with us. And then we know that some students are interested in health-based areas. And so through a partnership with our medical education program here at UC Merced, we were able to launch a semester-long program that supports students, but it really brings in speakers to talk about the issues. We have a speaker that's coming in from our Department of Public Health that's going to be talking about managing through a crisis, and really sharing that experience with our students of how a county public health official has been working through this pandemic as a real-time example of a health challenge in communities. And so students are getting that mentorship. They're having the opportunity that this can become a great thing to talk about as they apply for making connections, maybe for volunteer or shadowing experiences. And they also have something that is going to help frame their experiences and hopefully eventually make them better health professionals as they head off into those types of career paths. So where can you find all these things, right? These are all great opportunities. We've actually tried to make it really simple. We utilize a system called Handshake, which is our online platform that's students can access right from their fingertips and are able to actually view and go in and apply directly for or learn about all of these experiences I've talked about and thousands more, whether they are part-time positions on campus, it's in our system. If it's internship experiences, they're in there. Organizations from all across the country and the globe can post positions directly to UC Merced students that way. Students can take advantage of different programs and services through the system. And so we try to find a one-stop shop for students to find where they're looking for a job on campus, an undergraduate research experience, an internship, or a full-time position. And this is also available for our students and for our alumni. And so our alumni also have access to our Handshake system for the types of positions that are available in there, where they can directly apply to those types of opportunities. We've learned that how important it is to do what we're doing today, which is virtual communication and virtual internships. And so we worked with an outstanding organization called Standout to bring the software to our campus, where students at any time of the day, any time of the evening, can hop on, select an interview from a screening interview to a high pressure interview, a behavioral based interview, a panel interview, and then pre-recorded interviewers come up, including ones that we've designed ourselves with our team or with our employers. And students then can go through and complete a virtual interview. They can record it, they get real-time feedback, and then they get tips that kind of help them to understand what our employers looking for when they ask those questions like, tell me about yourself, or what is your greatest weakness? And it provides coaching to them for that opportunity to be able to do that. But we knew that that was something that we were going to quickly need to ramp our students up in terms of their skill sets. So appreciate our work with Standout, which didn't cost the institution anything for this partnership. So it's a great resource that's out there. But down to the little things, making sure that when students do go for interviews or into their jobs or those conferences they may go to, we have a professional clothing closet where students can rent professional suits, men's and women's suits, for up to 5 days at no cost. They need it longer, that's great. While they don't need to tell us why they need it, we don't care. We just want them to take advantage of it. Some of the reasons are that things that we would hope that they're using it for interviews. There's some, in the times when they were traveling to conferences and needed a professional suit or professional clothing, they may just want to have a better presence for a class presentation and feel like it gives them that confidence to do that class presentation, or different student organization events that may have them requiring some type of professional attire. We're so thankful for our partnership with JCPenney that provided us with the opportunity to purchase the suits here. And then Levi's also has provided us with more business casual clothing that students can actually have and take, not from our rental, but they've provided us with everything from more casual tops and to slacks and pants that students then have the opportunity to be able to take into those environments where they don't need a professional suit every day, but may just need something that they feel more comfortable wearing to work in that particular piece. And so we've tried to think through everything that would be a barrier to students pursuing these opportunities. And sometimes something is just not feeling like you have the appropriate attire to present yourself. Could be a barrier that keeps a student from applying to something. We don't want to see that happen. And then lots of events that go on. Just since the beginning of the fall semester, we've about 417 employer events, seminars, employer-led hiring events, trainings that have been available. This is just a snapshot from our calendar that you'll see on this calendar, everything from universities, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, their Masters of Science in Health and Technology held an info session for students to attend. UC Davis Biotechnology Seminar, how to translate your research into ideas into a startup. And we have Fortune 100 companies in here with Goldman Sachs or Yelp, yelping your way forward, a path made clear. But these are things that students can do. And then there's even something we call our appy hours, which are our way of having students come together. Open to any student can come in and they just work on their applications. And so we call them appy hours. And we have mentors or alumni or our staff that's there to answer their questions. But that idea is to create a community where students can feel confident applying for things and can bounce ideas off of each other. But we always set a goal of, do we want to apply to one position, we want to apply to 5 positions. And sometimes students just need that structure of knowing they can come to a place and we can just kind of help answer any questions they might have, just to see those things through, to see them become from interested to applicant in that particular piece. And we offer those types of experiences for students as well, which are, and I do a lot of them. They're a lot of fun to see all the range of positions that students are applying to. It certainly is, it's a hoot. And here's just a couple examples of some programs and our partnerships from national laboratories, working with Lawrence Livermore National Lab on a big data challenge our students are currently applying for, where they have an opportunity to internship as well as receive a scholarship from Livermore National Lab to E&J Gallo Winery, where they're actually looking for non-engineering positions. And so across there, whether it's in their manufacturing side or their sales or marketing side, to Tesla internships. We had, I think, close to, 250, 260 students participate in that just last week with a virtual session with the Tesla company. And then last night, I think, or maybe it was 2 nights ago, working with Teach for America on the careers with social impact. And so we want to really ensure that we talked about that equity and access to opportunities. And we want those opportunities for all students, not just the students that are enrolled in what may be typically more career-related programs of engineering or management, but for students that are in the social sciences and the humanities. We also work very, very specifically to curate opportunities for those students as well, to gain those opportunities and experiences. We love to take students places and visit companies. We couldn't do that in this last year. And so we created virtual career treks. And here's a couple examples of organizations from Bayer to VMware that designed an entire day or a portion of a day for students to be able to engage with their companies and learn about everything from Latinx Employees Resource Group to hear how they're supporting their employees who identify as Latinx, to the virtual tours. They actually were able to take a virtual tour of VMware and actually see, like, here's where our interns sit. Here's what the cafeteria looks like. Here's the parking lot, right? Things that we don't have a chance to do right now. And they did an awesome job of doing that to our partnership with the USDA and offering a whole variety of things for students to learn about agriculture and agricultural-based career paths. Very informative as well as career-oriented. And heck, if a company wants to take over, we let them. And they can take over our social media for a day and interact with students, both talking about their opportunities, but also just answering questions that students have. Whether it's a resume question or an internship question, we find this to be a really way of putting the student in their culture and their contact with the employer. And so we offer these as to employers, incentivize employers to participate in these and really make themselves available to answer any questions that students may have through utilizing the social media component to do that. And we mentioned how important mentorship is. And so we also entered into a partnership with the Global Mentorship Initiative. It's a global-based mentorship that matches predominantly juniors, enrolled juniors with folks in industry. And that can be everything from business entities to nonprofit organizations, educational pieces, like I said, all around the globe. And students are matched to participate in a 10 to 14 week mentorship experience. And really a deep experience for the mentor to work with our student with the idea towards preparing them for a job after they graduate. And so again, bringing in that outside source and that mentorship can be a really powerful thing to do. And it's not just these folks who are these with this, but our own alumni have stepped up in the last year, and we created the Bobcats Helping Bobcats, which is right now we have about 50 of our alumni through a variety of different industries, from doctors to attorneys to professors and other institutions, who made themselves available to do what we call more like short-term mentoring or just-in-time mentoring or flash mentoring with students to answer their questions about their jobs or their careers, or just to get them over that finish line and instill some of that confidence that you can do this, or hearing from somebody who's in the field that they want to go into, and that giving them advice about their applications or their what they're thinking about has just been really, really powerful. We've done about 170 matches since about September with that program, with that idea of these really kind of just in time kinds of mentoring piece. And so we're incredibly appreciative of our alumni Bobcats in doing that. So we talked about it from the idea of that awareness raising and how we're able to do that, to connecting students with these experiential opportunities, all the way through to hopefully they will become eventual Bobcats Helping Bobcat mentors, or involved in something like the Global Mentoring Program and mentoring a UC Merced student. And so we want this to be full circle, and the idea of our alumni feeling fulfilled in their careers. We were preparing them for those opportunities. They want to give back, whether that's through hiring students, mentoring students, being involved in the professional development of students. But we feel that all of this is done with intention to create this symbiotic relationship then with both our alumni, our industry partners, but also the relationship with folks like yourselves, in those relationships of how are you preparing them, and what should we be preparing for when students are coming to our campuses, and how do we facilitate those types of conversations and dialogues. And so that's what we're really about, is helping to facilitate students both where they are now, where they will be while they were with us, but also long after graduation, is our goal, to prepare them for what comes next in the short period of time that we're blessed enough to have them on our campuses. So with that, I'm happy to facilitate any questions now that might have in the chat, or however, Ricky, you prefer to do that. I also have my contact information there. If anything that you're doing reminds you of the work that we're doing here, that we can compare notes, we'd love to learn, but also to continue the conversation about the great work that you all are doing in your respective campuses and in schools, to prepare students and have these really critical career conversations with students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. A wonderful presentation, as always. I always learn new information from you, so thank you so much for that. There's things that are always ever changing, right? So always a great time with you here. At this time, it doesn't look like we have any questions waiting to be answered. Those that have come through, we may have answered behind the scenes. As you did mention, though, you do have contact information on the screen. So if anyone would like to grab that, you're welcome to do a screenshot or use your smartphone and take a quick picture. That way you have that for later reference. I can also go ahead and drop in the chat for everyone the link to the Educator tour page, where we do host the links for all of the replays for the recordings of events such as this one and others that we've had previously this month, as well as those coming up in the next week or so. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and go to that link, we'll go ahead and drop that into the chat, and we will get that out to you. There's also a follow-up email that you will be getting after this event, and that will also provide you the link as well. So we try to make that available the easiest way possible. In addition to that, we do often have other events that are coming up that may not be a part of a specific campaign, such as the Educator Tour Series. And those events can be located on the admissions website, which is admissions.ucmerced.edu/events. Once again, that is admissions.ucmerced.edu/events. Specific campaigns, however, such as the virtual Educator Tour Series, we do have a dedicated page for that and the programming that is upcoming for that. We did get a comment there. Thank you so much for that compliment, Brian. We did get a compliment in the chat, just thanking us for the presentation today and just saying that it was a nice presentation. So there you go for that. We appreciate that feedback as well.
Thank you. Very kind.
Yes. Brian, is there any last minute comments that you'd like to wrap up with before we close out?
No, it's such a privilege to work with the students that you send to our institution, and we just want you to know that we're very committed to helping them to be successful in whatever that looks like into their futures, whether that's continuing to go and continue their education or entering into the workforce. Whatever that might be, we would love the opportunity to continue to work with great students and create more success stories for our alumni as well. So thank you all for your time, and really appreciate the work you all do. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Brian, and to all of our friends that were behind the scenes answering questions that were coming in. Once again, this has been a part of our larger event series called the Virtual Educator Tour Series. We will have further upcoming events coming up, so you will be able to find those in the link that was provided in the chat, as well as the follow-up email that will be sent out to you after this event. One last reminder, once this event does close out here in just a moment, you should see a survey pop up. If you can take a moment and just offer some feedback for us on how we can improve or offer different topics, whatever your interest may be, we definitely want to make sure that we're catering to what your interest is and any questions that you may have for us. At this time, it's been a great pleasure. We appreciate you taking time out of your day today to join us for this Educator Tour series. At this time, have a wonderful day. And on behalf of all of my colleagues here at the University of California, Merced, we hope to see you again very soon. Have a wonderful day.